Look, man, when it comes to this whole spiritual journey towards self-realization, you gotta understand that psychedelics can only take you so far. And so let me say that again for the people in the back. Listen up. When it comes to this whole spiritual path, this spiritual journey towards self-realization, towards enlightenment, towards nirvana, towards moksha, heaven, whatever the fuck you want to call it, you gotta understand that psychedelics can only take you so far. And I'm talking to the people right now who have had psychedelic experiences. And you might be wondering, okay, man, how far does it take you? Does it get you to the finish line? Is it halfway? Where does it end up? Well, relax. Relax. Relax, my guy. Because it's time for your boy to break this bitch down real quick like a brick for y'all. Now, again, I'm talking to the people out there right now who have had psychedelic experiences. You know how powerful these transcendental tools are. I don't gotta really explain it to you. You've had that experience. But one thing I wanna mention is something that I fell into the trap of as well. I thought that psychedelics could get me to the finish line of spiritual unfoldment. And fuck's sake, man, was I goddamn wrong about that. So today I really want to kind of make that known. I want that to be a understanding and understanding for any of you guys out there who are experimenting with psychedelics. I don't condone it nor not condone it. That's up to you, up to your path, up to your journey, up to your dharma. I ain't the one out here trying to say you should or shouldn't. But if you are, you got to realize that it can only take you so far on this spiritual journey, on your own path towards self-realization. And what do I mean by that? Well, you might have heard me talk about this concept on this channel plenty of times now. Psychedelics to me are steroids for spiritual growth. What does that mean? If you take steroids, anabolic steroids, you go to the gym, you're gonna build up strength and you're gonna build up muscle at a much higher rate than a natural lifter. That's just how steroids work. They help you recover better, they help you with protein synthesis, they help you with all these different types of things to help you get to the end destination of being jacked and strong. But funny enough, you hop off cycle. Guess what happens? You fucking deflate. You start to deflate. You don't have as much strength. You don't have as much muscle anymore. Because guess what? You didn't build it up naturally. But for the natural lifter who took them 10 years to build up the body that it took you 1 year to on steroids, guess what? They keep that shit. They don't gotta need to be on cycles, on cycle, off cycle. They don't need that. They take a year off the gym. Guess what? They're basically maintaining all that damn muscle still because they've built it from the ground up. They have a foundation. They have the overall tools, abilities to build that body up. You did not as a steroid user. And now when we take that analogy and bring it on over to the spiritual realms, psychedelics act as that steroid. You can get to the point of enlightenment. You can get to the point of self-realization. You can have an ego death transcendental experience where you become one with God and God becomes one with you, where one becomes all and all becomes one. You can get to that point, but guess what? When the psychedelics wear off, you're back to your normal self. You still got the ego. You still got your problems. You still are stuck in suffering within the cycle of samsara. Nothing really changed. But one thing I will say about psychedelics, they can give you a taste of what these higher states of consciousness are like. But where a lot of people go wrong, this is where I fell into as well, is you start believing that psychedelics are the tool for you to be able to get into these states of enlightenment rather than a tool to be able to have you taste it. It's an appetizer. Treat it like an appetizer rather than the entire meal. You can get your taste buds flowing for what nirvana, what enlightenment, what moksha, what samadhi, what this non-dual state, the monistic point, the transcendental experience is like. And that can lead you on to understanding more concepts, philosophies, and spiritual traditions that build up the groundwork for you to build up from that point. But you have to realize that it can only get you so far, because now you have become attached to psychedelics helping you spiritually grow. True spirituality, what it is at the end of the day, in my opinion, in my view, in my perspective, thus far, of me learning all these things, of applying it into my life, spirituality is the tool or the vessel for the soul of man to break free from the bondages that keep him stuck in the confines of the mind and body. Are the mind and body evil? Absolutely not. But there's certain attachments, karmas, and all that stuff that you build up over time that blocks you from actually going beyond the mind and going beyond the body. Psychedelics are a tool to help you go beyond the mind and go beyond the body. But a true spiritual journey, a true spiritual path is what allows you to go beyond the body and beyond the mind as long as you want. You can tap back into the material world whenever you want. You can tap back into the spiritual world whenever you want. When you take psychedelics, you're ripped from the material world and thrown into the spiritual realm, and you got a certain amount of time in that. And you go whoop, back there, back to the material plane without you consciously choosing. The true spiritual path is blending the spiritual and the material into one. All is one and one is all. It ain't about compartmentalizing all that stuff. You're operating at a higher state of consciousness within these lower, more gross and dense forms of reality. When I'm saying lower, dense, and gross, I'm talking about, think about it as water can be ice, it can be liquid water, and it can also be the gaseous form. The gaseous form is the most subtle, is the least dense. It's air. The most gross, dense form is that solid ice cube. The material plane, this physical plane that we're living in right now, that's why you can touch your body, is the most gross and dense. The spiritual realms, when you are dreaming, when you have lucid dreams, when you're on psychedelics, when you go beyond the confines of that gross, dense body-mind kind of field, even though this is mainly the confines of just the body, the physical, that spiritual realm is the most subtle. What's in between it? The mind, the mental realm, thought forms, ideas, concepts, names. That's the confines of the mind. That's the liquid stage. Psychedelics can bring you from the solid to the gaseous stage like that. But guess what? It can take you from the gaseous to the solid just like that. True spiritual wisdom, true spiritual paths allow you to be just water. Not even liquid, not even solid, not even gaseous. You just are. You go beyond even needing psychedelics. You go beyond the concepts of spiritual realms of reality, mental realms of reality, material realms of reality. You go beyond all that. And psychedelics can't get you to that point. I'm sorry to tell you, man. I had to figure it out myself. Psychedelics cannot get you all the way to that point. It can break open some of the doors and barriers for you to be able to perceive that there is another layer, but it ain't gonna get you to that point. Only a true grounded spiritual practice, spiritual path of self-mastery, which leads to self-realization, can get you to that point. So for all you guys out there who have had psychedelic experiences before, who are truly devoted to the spiritual path, I want you to realize that this tool, these herbal medicines, in my opinion, mystical medicines, allow you to tap into states of consciousness like that. However, those states of consciousness can be accessed without any external help, any external assistance. And a story that I always bring up is about Ram Dass and Neem Karoli Baba. If you know, you know. Ram Dass, formerly known as Richard Alpert, a Harvard professor, fucking professor at Harvard, started to dabble around with LSD had some transcendental experiences, was wondering what the fuck he saw, and then he came across a lot of these ancient wisdom texts, esoteric texts that were kind of breaking down what he perceived on his psychedelic experiences. At that point, he's like, hey, bro, I need to stop with this professor nonsense and figure out what the fuck just happened to me. What was this experience? Eventually ended up in India. Met this guru who's supposed to be all-knowing, all this, all that, omnipresent. He's basically an avatar of God. This dude was just sitting down doing nothing all day. And he's like, man, this ain't shit, bro. What the fuck am I doing here? I just quit my job as a Harvard professor. I'm out here in the middle of fucking nowhere in India. I've never been to this place before. Just because I got some psychedelic hallucinations. Man, that was nonsense. Yet, during this turmoil, he was also reminiscing about how his mother or grandmother passed away, and he was looking at like a lake under the moonlight, and the guru was watching him. His name was Neem Karoli Baba. Ram Dass didn't tell anyone his mom or his grandma passed away. He didn't tell anybody there. However, the next morning when he was about to leave, he said, hey, thank you guys for having me. This isn't the right place for me. I need to go back, blah, blah, blah. Neem Karoli Baba told him, are you still reminiscing about your mother? Your grandmother? Which one? Whichever one. He's like, man, what the fuck did you just tell me, man? How do you know about that? Who told you? Who's spying on me? And he started going crazy. Because this ascended self-realized master, Neem Karoli Baba, has something called siddhis. S-I-D-D-H-I-S. Siddhis. Which are supernatural, yogic, mystical powers. Let me say that again. They're supernatural capabilities and yogic, mystical powers. Those who become self-realized, who go beyond the confines of the mind and body, go beyond the limitations of the mind and body. This dude was telepathically reading Ram Dass or Richard Alpert's mind. So at this point, he also knew Richard Alpert brought a shit ton of acid with him to India. And he's like, give me some of that yogi medicine. This dude, old dude, took like 200 hits of acid and just was like frying his brains out, I guess. And Ram Dass, Richard Alpert, was going crazy. He's like, man, you're going to put this dude in the hospital. I'm going to go to jail, call an ambulance. My whole life is ruined. I'm about to kill an old guy with acid. And Neem Karoli came back from his meditation on an ungodly amount of LSD and told Ram Dass, Richard Alpert at the time, that was really cool. Well, what if I told you meditation lets you go beyond that? That's one story. When I read it, I was like, okay, let's see what these yogis, what these self-realized sages, what these mystics really are about. If you can tell me through your practices, I can go beyond the mind and body as much as psychedelics do for me, I gotta see what's up. I gotta see what's up. And that's what eventually led me down to all this stuff that we talk about here on this channel, on the main channel, on the private Patreon community. Man, shout out to the fucking private Patreon community, man. Listen, my boy. If you're interested in topics, subjects, and overall this path of self-mastery, then you are doing yourself, yes, yourself, look at yourself right now, yourself, a huge motherfucking disfavor by not joining up into the private Patreon community. Because within there, we are really unpacking and uncovering the depths of this esoteric science of self-mastery, where you get access to exclusive videos that go much more in depth, much more in detail, using ancient texts, using stories like I just brought up, to actually make you correlate and make this overall practices practical for you on your own individual journey. Matter of fact, when we're talking about cities right now, there's a whole video, damn near more than an hour long, about cities, about each one of them, about examples, about how they are accessed. And along with those exclusive videos, we got in-depth occult lectures, full guides, and most importantly, if you tap into the Philosopher's Circle, aka the highest membership tier group within the private Patreon community, you'll get access to our private group chat, as well as where we host our bi-weekly mastermind live calls. Yes, sir. 2 live calls each and every single month, bi-weekly. Come on now, where you hop on a call with me, as well as a community of like-minded men who are also on this path of self-mastery, who are also on this journey towards self-realization, who are also understanding that psychedelics can only get you so far, but then also realizing and getting the tools, getting the practices, getting the implements to go beyond what even psychedelics can offer you. If you want to be surrounded with people who are on that path, who are breaking free from the bonds that trap them to the matrix, who are still focused on elevating on all aspects of reality, all realms of reality. I'm talking about the mental, physical, and spiritual. And you want to be held accountable for it too as well. This is the place for you, my boy. The Philosopher's Circle is the place for you. So if you're interested in stuff like that, man, check out the links posted in the pinned comment of this video, because within there, you'll also be able to find other links to our other services, whether that be my personalized coaching program where you're working with me directly one-on-one, links for consultation calls where we can hop on a call together one-on-one and discuss any hardships that you're going through, struggles that you're going through, questions that you might have along this spiritual path towards self-realization, along this overall journey of self-mastery, mentally, physically, and spiritually. There's also weekly newsletters that we got, free community Discord server, again, posted in the pinned comment of this video. Make sure you go run it up. But like I was saying, all these different types of practices, tips, techniques, and all that tools that we talk about on this channel, on the main channel, with the people I'm working with one-on-one, on the private Patreon community. These are the actual foundations you need to exceed. Come on now, that's a bar. What psychedelics show you, what psychedelics give you. I've had glimpses and tastes of my meditations touching the experience that I had on 5 grams of mushrooms, but I had a full ego death experience. That's not a regular psychedelic experience. That's like a regular psychedelic experience is like driving in 3rd gear. That shit's like 5th, 6th gear. I've gone to points using fasting, using meditation, using pranayama, to the point where I feel like I literally am on lower doses of psychedelics. And it's more sustainable, and it's more clear, and it's more natural. What if I told you you can get to those states? That's what I'm saying. Psychedelics can only get you so far. They can give you a taste, they can give you an understanding, an understanding of what these higher states of consciousness are about. But it isn't gonna allow you to access it to its fullest extent. It's a bit, oh man, this is a good analogy. Holy shit. It allows you to test drive the Lamborghini, but it doesn't let you go fucking floor it on the freeway. You can test drive it around the block. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's nice. But you don't get the full extent of what a Lamborghini feels like until you're on the motherfucking freeway. Pedal to the metal, foot on the gas. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Fast and furious. Call me Vin Diesel out here. You ain't gonna get that with psychedelics. That comes with only the spiritual journey. But guess what? Getting a test drive, you can just pop in psychedelics is easier. You can eat some mushrooms, you can pop a tab, you can smoke some DMT. But buying the Lamborghini, and it's yours, and you flooring it, you're gonna need some bread. You're gonna need to put the work in. Same thing with the spiritual path. You're gonna need to put some work in to be able to tap into those states beyond psychedelics. You dig what I'm saying? You picking up what the fuck I'm putting down? Come on now. I really want to make that known, because when it comes to my own individual spiritual awakening experience, it was from psychedelics. So I always thought like, man, this is the magic spell that I can be enlightened. Imagine as if I just injected an IV fluid of magic mushrooms, of LSD. I would just be enlightened all the time. Just literally an IV fluid hanging around my arm. I'm enlightened all the time because I thought psychedelics were enlightenment. They only can get you so far, and they can only show you glimpses, tastes, touches of something that goes beyond even what psychedelics can even comprehend. It's crazy to think that these self-realized masters can do that. Tap into cities. And if you only think that telepathy is one of them, I'm telling you, man, join the private Patreon community, listen to that lecture that we got on cities. It'll blow your fucking mind. These dudes are doing the utmost unnatural, supernatural things. And they're doing it to this very day. And you can too. Now, cities aren't the ultimate goal. That is an enlightenment. All the yogic sciences, the ultimate goal is yoga. Union with God, union with the divine, union back to where you came from. But hey, I ain't gonna complain if I develop some cities along the way. If I can read people's minds. If I can walk the fucking Himalayan mountains with no shirt or shoes on and not feel cold at all. If I can warm up my bodily temperature through pranayama. If at some point, maybe, I don't know, I don't think so. There's a good story in that video about cities. Touch somebody, and my pranic force awakens them. Shaktipat makes them taste enlightenment. They don't need psychedelics. I got the psychedelic touch. Fuck the Midas touch. I got the psychedelic touch. I got the psilocybin touch. I got the lysergic acid dithylamide touch. You touch someone and they go on a fucking psychedelic trip, imagine that. That's what some of these cities allow these self-realized masters to do. They touch a devotee and they become immersed in samadhi, aka fully immersed into a psychedelic transcendental experience. So you see what I'm saying? Psychedelics can only get you so far. At a certain point, you need to take off the training wheels. At a certain point, you need to go beyond what the confines of even psychedelics give you. Even psychedelics put a barrier. It breaks your old barriers, but it doesn't break them to the fullest extent. It just extends it out to another one. It's not something to easily grasp. It's not a concept to really kind of wrap your mind around. But I'm telling you right now, for those of you who are on this path of self-mastery that leads to self-realization, you're doing all the practices, you're understanding and grasping all these techniques from semen retention, celibacy, to improving your body, to going beyond the confines of the mind through meditation, through pranayama, through all this stuff that we talk about again on this channel, on the main channel, on the private Patreon community with the people I'm working with one-on-one. It will slowly but surely start to make sense to you, as it did for me. Actually applying and connecting your own puzzle for your own protocol for self-mastery. My whole journey towards self-realization is different than yours. Your whole journey towards self-realization is different than mine. However, there are principles, universal principles that apply to you and apply to me and apply to the next man and the next man. These are the tools, tips, and techniques of this yogic or esoteric science of self-mastery. All the stuff, again, that we talk about on this channel, the main channel, with the people I'm working with one-on-one, in the private Patreon community, are all tools, tips, and techniques. It ain't gonna help you actually become self-realized if you don't apply it yourself and see how it actually affects you. So enough with the mental masturbation if you're actually understanding and understanding this video right now. I'm telling you, bro. Even psychedelics are a sense of spiritually cucking yourself. You're only getting a small taste. You're blue balling yourself, spiritually speaking. And you might be like, no fucking way, dude. No way I'm blue balling. There's no way I can conceptualize this shit goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. Is it something that I can access right now? Absolutely not. I'm not going to sit up here and lie. But I've had tastes and I've had experiences of going, at least getting into third gear, feeling like I'm literally on 3 grams of mushrooms through fasting, through pranayama and all that stuff. I've had tastes where deep in my meditations where the sense of ego vanishes, but then funny enough, it just constricts back because I've not developed yet to that point. But it's there, it's possible. I've seen the door open up a little bit, even though it closes back. Definitely know I can rip open that door if I continue on this path, and you can too. There's nothing special about me. I ain't fucking special. You ain't special either. But again, like I've said so many times, for the people that are watching this channel in specific, you are special in some way, shape, or form because you are more psychologically and spiritually matured than the masses of society. I'm not saying you're better than anyone, but what I am saying is maybe due to past lives, you have become more psychologically and spiritually more mature if you're able to listen to a video for this long. Because we're out here on the second channel, What the Fulati, out here in the field, in the flesh, no cuts, no edits. We just straight up talking off the dome, off the rip, you dig? You guys can actually grasp these concepts and have the capacity to apply it into your lives. Yet if you're not doing it, you're only depending on psychedelics, you're only depending on external things to make you feel more spiritual, to grow more spiritually, you're doing yourself a huge disfavor because you have been gifted to by God, by the universe, the ability to actually grasp these concepts and then go and put it into play, put it into motion. So don't waste that. Don't waste that spiritually masturbating, speaking on those terms, mentally masturbating, psychologically masturbating, like, oh man, that really does make sense. I can go beyond psychedelics. Well, fuck around and find out. See how it works for you. Realize it and understand it, most importantly. Forget about reading all these stories, about listening to all this stuff. Do you not actually want to see yourself tap into those higher states of consciousness? Because I most definitely want to. I want to get high off my own motherfucking supply. I don't need no mushroom plug, LSD plug to tap into those states of spiritual ecstasy. I want to get high off my own supply. I'm cheap. I ain't trying to pay. Are you trying to pay for that? Nope. So might as well figure out how it cooks up on your end. Because psychedelics can only get you so far. If you want to go beyond that, beyond the edge of the map, you got to rip open the map and tear it up, throw it out into the garbage. That's what true spirituality does. Every time you think there's a barrier of the mind and body, it goes beyond it. Because the spirit is limitless. Yet you are limiting yourself. The self is limitless. Yet you continue to limit it. You do. Your perception of it. Spirituality takes that perception, crushes it up, throws it in the trash. Psychedelics can do that, but again, the perspective comes back. It can show you what you can do, but it ain't gonna do it for you. Because imagine if it did. Everyone would take a psychedelic mushroom trip and everyone would be enlightened. Everybody. Yeah, there's people who've taken psychedelic trips who go right back into their old ways, go right back into degeneracy. Yet they've tasted what it is to go beyond the confines that pull them and attach them to the lower senses. That taste should make you want more, should make you want to go and achieve and access that state without the need of external help. It's like, imagine you learn how to surf with your dad, with your friend. You want to learn how to be able to go do it without them. The waves are nice. You don't want to depend on somebody else holding your hand to do that. You don't want to depend on psychedelics to hold your hand to get to those states of existence, those states of consciousness. You want to be independent on all aspects of reality. spiritually speaking too. And you ain't gonna do that if you just, the magic mushrooms are holding your hand. The LSD is holding your hand. The DMT is holding your hand. These spiritual practices through the act and art of self-mastery is what allows you to say, I don't need no training wheels. I don't need no help. I can do this on my own. Because that's all I need. Because guess what? We're going for self-realization. So what do you need? Just the self. Not psychedelic realization. Self-realization. Psychedelics are just a tool to help you access more of the self. But you are the self. So you accessing the self only relies on yourself. Goddamn, man. Goddamn. I'm gonna end it off with that. Because that was a bar. And let that marinate in your mind. Let that sink in your psyche. Because that was some real deal game, real deal sauce out here in the field, in the flesh. Dropping y'all that game so you guys can make these games, and I'm out of here. Peace.